Namaste, everyone. Marie Russell here from It's Yoga International. And today I want to talk to you a little bit about the Grateful Dead and It's Yoga and what they have in common. And let me see, where shall I begin? One day, my yoga teacher, Larry Schultz, got a phone call that said, "Do you teach Ashtanga Vinyasa Yoga?" And he said, "Yes." And they said, "Will you come to this address tomorrow?" And he said, "Sure." So he drove his car up to Northern California. He lived in San Francisco at the time, went over the bridge, Sonoma County. And he said when he got to the gate, he rang the bell and he said, "Hi, I'm here about the Ashtanga Yoga." And the gates opened. That's important in the story because he would always say that Ashtanga was a powerful word because it opened doors. Literally, and this was probably one of the biggest doors that opened for Larry. Larry is the founder of It's Yoga, which is a system of Ashtanga Vinyasa Yoga that pretty much modifies it for Western practitioners. So the classical system is a little bit like you do this pose, and once you perfect that one, you get to the next. And he practiced that way for a good 7 years, and when he got to the second series, because there's 6 and they go in order, he couldn't do the poses in the second series that he could do in the first, and he thought, well, gosh, if I had been doing those poses from the beginning, perhaps I would have gotten there faster. This is important because when he got the job, he ended up at the door of the Grateful Dead, and they asked him to come on as their touring yoga teacher. He said his feet never hit the ground for 4 years. So here he is, touring for the Grateful Dead with this practice of Ashtanga Vinyasa Yoga that they had heard was really beneficial from some of their friends. And Larry's trying to teach them Ashtanga Yoga in the classical way, but realizing pretty quickly that you can't do that to these musicians because they're just not going to do that. So he realized he had to modify the system. And he was in his hotel room for 14 hours a day waiting for the phone call, because in those days when he had asked them, "What time do we practice?" they said to him, "Time?" And he said, "Yeah, like what time are we practicing?" And they said, "In the Grateful Dead world, there's no time. There's only daylight and dark." So he was in this hotel room. There's no cell phones. This is like 1990. Looking at all of the postures of Ashtanga Vinyasa Yoga. And there's 6 routines. So he puts all the postures out there, and he said he chose the sexiest postures because a lot of the poses that you might see in yoga, no one really wants to do those. So he chooses all the sexy poses. He starts to stack the postures together, and he starts to put together these routines, and he's teaching them to the members of the Grateful Dead. And one day he says to Bobby, "Bobby, what are we going to call these routines?" And Bobby says, "Let's call it the Rocket." And Larry was like, "Oh, I love that. Why would we call it the Rocket?" And he said, "Because it gets you there faster." And it stuck. It stuck, and that was 1990, and now we're in 2019, and we have a worldwide community of people that are practicing the Rocket, named by Bobby Weir of the Grateful Dead. And these routines are so much fun. They are dynamic. They're a lot about lifting up the energy. So there's lots of inversions. There's lots of arm balancing. There's core work. But all of that strength stuff really mixed into building your flexibility. So it's super balanced. Larry used to like to say that the Rocket balances out the genders. So the men get softer and the women get stronger. And we see that. We've been seeing that. I've been seeing that in myself for the last 15 years. And within our international community, the people that are still practicing Rocket, that have been with it, are super strong, super flexible, really centered, and it's just awesome. So I hope you try the Rocket sometime. We've got lots of stuff on the YouTube channel for some complimentary classes, and then you can visit itsyoga.com, where we have the Rocket Vault, kind of similar to the Grateful Dead Vault. If you're a Grateful Dead fan, you know probably about Sirius Radio and Grateful Dead channel and all that cool stuff. But anyway, yeah, check us out. Like Bobby Weir said, the Rocket gets you there faster. Namaste.